I'm sure if you're watching this video, odds are you've probably seen that image of someone digging about 3 feet away from what they're actually digging for. It's an image of them like turning around just because they feel like there was nothing. That image owns a lot of real estate in my head because every time that I'm attacking something, I feel like I'm like that close. And if I feel that way, I'm sure some of you guys feel the same way as well. And right before someone quits something, I think it's about is them understanding what leads to that. First, I think if you're looking to accomplish anything worthwhile, there's a period that you suck. All right, let's just say that. Like you're not good at it. It's really, really frustrating. And that's the first thing, is because you're working so hard, but you get frustrated. And I think when you're working so hard and get frustrated is because you're looking at your success from a result standpoint than a progressive standpoint. Like, am I getting better every single day? Am I getting, better at this task? Am I getting better at, solving problems or whatever it is? And I think if you start measuring your success based on how better you're getting from day to day, as opposed to how close am I to the ultimate goal, I think it saves you a lot of frustration. You'll be less inclined to turn back and say, hey, I'm not going to be able to accomplish this, right? So I think first you have to remember that as you're looking to accomplish something, because that might be a deterrence in your way. The next one is a lack of immediate results. And I kind of touched on this, is because most people go into something and they've been watching maybe this person, they've been watching this procedure, and what they see is a polished, a worked on version of what they're looking to accomplish. And most people, like Instagram and social media in general, is like a highlight reel, right? People post good things on there. They post the final result, right? Imagine you didn't watch a game, right? Regardless of what sport it is, and all you saw from the game was just the highlight reel. You can make any game look like it was the best game ever if you just post 5 of the best things that happened during that game. And I think that's what Instagram is, and it kind of gets people off course a little bit. I think most people care about the results more than they do about the process, and I think that's the main part they have to focus on. It's like, great, I love the result that this person is getting. I love that they can accomplish this. I love that they can do this. But then the second part is like, what did they go through to get to that point? And I think most people skip that part of like, what did they go through to get to that point? Because that's really the part that matters the most, because that's exactly what you're going to have to go through. That's exactly the growing pains, essentially, that you're going to have to go through in order to get to that person. So don't just envy the results that you see. You got to also understand the process, right? And that doesn't feel good. But I think what really matters is your ability to be able to stay in the pocket, stay there long enough to get the desired result. And ultimately, I think that's what really separates people. And I think Alex Hormozi talks about this all the time. People's ability to do the things that they're not so excited about, but to do it for an extended period of time is what really separates the good from the great. And I think that couldn't be truer. And I think that's what really matters in this case, is that can I stay the course? I still know the goal is there. I just got to keep trucking little by little, right? The next one is people's comparison to others, right? I think it's important to be competitive, but not comparative, right? Because what are you really comparing it to? Because I'm like, I've been doing this for X amount of time and I haven't accomplished this result yet. And naturally, if you think about it very surface level, you can get frustrated, right? If I'm comparing myself to other people, because think about it, if I just started, playing the keyboard today, and I put in like 8 hours a day for the next 2 months because I really want to become good at it, and I see someone else who's like a younger person than me, maybe like a kid, like this child prodigy, and I'm like, why is he or she able to play the piano so well at such a young age? And I'm trying this, and I've been doing this for 8 hours a day for 2 months. I don't know how many hours that is, and I'm still not as good. But then I think you forget, like, maybe this person's upbringing put them in a position to be musically inclined. Maybe their father or their mother plays the instrument really well, or maybe this person is around like someone who plays in the orchestra all the time, so they have an ear for it. And then they get on the keyboard, and they started it so young when their mind was so moldable, and that's how they got good in a short period of time. Where you, on the other hand, are looking at your result in a different way where you're like, I've been doing this for 2 months, when this person's been around that, or maybe they haven't been necessarily playing, but they've been around that industry for maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 years. So they have an ear for it, they have an eye for it and things like that. So you have to be very careful not to compare, but you got to be competitive, of course. I would never advise anyone to not be competitive. I think people who shade away from competition are just like weak-minded. So you should be competitive. Like, I want to be good. I want to be, and it's not necessarily competing against other people, but competing against who you were before. So in that case, then what I would look at is, am I better last week than I was this week? Right? Am I, did I learn a new song on the piano? Did I learn, to place my fingers a certain way where it doesn't feel as uncomfortable anymore? And I think when you start looking at those small wins, you stop focusing on just the long result. Don't get me wrong, the long-term goal is still in the back of your mind, but the longer I focus on those, I think the further I get from the ultimate goal, and just try to stay in that moment and keep focusing on what it is that you need to do at that time to get better tomorrow, not just what do I need to do to accomplish the goals by tomorrow, because I think that's highly unlikely, right? And then my last point is, most people quit right before the ugly face, or they quit in the ugly face. That's when things don't look good. The things are not looking up. Things are not looking like you've made the right decision. Sometimes it looks like every decision you ever made should be questioned because you question them yourself. And I believe that is when it's the easiest to quit. And I coach people on this all the time. If you're going to quit something, you should probably talk to someone who succeeded at that thing, so they can tell you what made them actually accomplish it. But people do the opposite, right? Because misery loves company. So when people get to a breaking point, what happens is they find other people who are also at that breaking point, or people who've been at that breaking point and chose to walk away. And what do you think they're going to tell you? They're going to justify everything that's in your head, because remember, you're already hard on yourself. Most people are hard on themselves, right? You've already been hard on yourselves, and you're telling yourself all these reasons why maybe this might not work out, because you're at the point of self-doubting, which I think everyone goes through. You're at this point, and you just found another person who was at that point and chose not to push past it. And that person is going to coach you from there. They're not coaching you necessarily to, like, from a negative perspective. They're giving you their reality, and their reality says they didn't make it. And if you keep getting coaching from them, you won't make it also. I think it's important to go to someone who was also at that breaking point, but then they made certain moves, heard from someone else, started hanging out with different people, and they actually pushed past that point. And I think when you don't do that, a lot of the times it just turns into lost effort, because you worked so hard at this thing that now you're going to walk away from, because you couldn't see yourself getting past a certain point. So I'll be very careful on that. And the reason people call it quits is to go through these four things that I just covered. But very important for you to understand, like, that ugly stage is necessary. Most of the success stories that you hear from people, you don't hear someone like, I really started this thing and I was just a massive success from the beginning and everything went as smoothly as it can. Like, I didn't even need coaching. Like, I just kind of knew everything that I needed to do, and then I succeeded. If there were, I'm sure that might be someone's success story, but no one listens to that. No one even cares about that, because, like, that's not relatable at all. The relatable story is the people who started something and went through their fair share of, ugly phase and stuck it out. And even though everything in their body and everything other people said told them not to, but they just decided to stick it out anyway, because I've invested too much time and energy and learning into this, I might as well see it through. And you stuck by your guns, and then you got to accomplish it, right? Those are the success story that people really like, which is why people love the underdog story, right? You weren't the big shot, you were just a little shot that kept shooting, and then you end up becoming the big shot, right? But I think that's what happens. So if you're ever feeling this way and you've gone through, all four of these things that I just mentioned, just know you're not alone, because we've all been there. But once again, stay in the pocket, right? Hopefully that helped you today. I'll see you in the next video.